Good morning, aspirants. It's 19th of September today, and I welcome you all on today's edition of What to Read in the Hindu Newspaper. I'm 𝗗𝗶𝗃 𝗏𝗍𝗔, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance with regard to prelims and mains, but we'll also try interlinking it with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your newspaper reading as a part of our GS syllabus. So let's get started. The very first article that is worth our attention talks about US visas of Indian executives revoked over drug trafficking. Now, this particular article, when we map into our syllabus, will fall under GS Paper 2, International Relations, under the theme India-US ties, diplomacy, and legal cooperation. This is also relevant for GS Paper 3, wherein internal security can be mapped. So the areas that we have to know for internal security is narcotics trafficking, NDPS Act, cross-border drug networks that is there. From prelims perspective, the areas where we need to brush up our knowledge is on international conventions on narcotics. For example, UNODC, Single Convention 1961, agencies that is involved in India with regard to control of narcotics, such as NCB, DRI, CBN, that is Central Bureau of Narcotics. The major drug that has been talked about in this particular article and is even shown in this diagram is fentanyl crisis. So majorly, these sort of drugs wherein a specific sort of chemicals are being talked about is one of the most important and favorite areas of UPSC, from which several questions has been asked in prelims and as well as in mains. With regard to mains, we can even link this particular article with the dimension in a form of soft power diplomacy versus hardline US action. Then reputational risk for India's pharma export as well. In this manner, this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. Moving on, the next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention talks about manual scavenging. So this particular article is relevant with regard to, yes, Supreme Court fines PWD to about rupees 5 lakh for using workers to clean sewers outside the court premises. So the stark contrast that we see in this article is about just outside the Supreme Court premises, sewerage is being cleaned by human, and what sort of dignity is being held. So this particular article is being linked with regard to GS Paper 2 governance, wherein judicial intervention with regard to upholding constitutional rights under Article 21, which talks about right to life with dignity, can be linked. The next important article that is very much important with this particular article is about social justice, wherein 𝗵𝗡𝗍𝒑 𝗓𝒐𝒻𝒂𝐺𝒑 Act, Prohibition of Manual Scavenging Act can be linked. For GS Paper 3 as well, Internal Security and Disaster Management. So this is an epic example of how occupational safety could at times needs to be taken care of. From prelims perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013, role of National Commission of 𝗵𝗡𝗍𝒑 𝗓𝒐𝒻𝒂𝐺𝒑, recent Supreme Court judgments with regard to it, NGOs working for this. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of constitutional morality versus administration apathy, child labor and health rights. In this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. Moving on, the next important article that is relevant to read from today's paper is on editorials page, and that majorly talks about poverty measurements. So the arenas that we have to go through while reading this article, which talks about equalizing primary food consumption in India, when we map our GS syllabus, this will fall under first GS Paper 2 governance, wherein poverty estimation surveys Who does that? For example, NSS or National Family Health Survey, NFHS, their data can be quoted. Relevant for GS paper 3 economy as well, wherein food security, subsidies and welfare schemes could be quoted. GS paper 2 under the theme social justice, wherein hunger, nutrition and PTS reforms can be quoted while talking about poverty elimination and reducing malnourishment altogether. Afterwards, the main angle that can be quoted over here is World Bank says extreme poverty is almost gone. But thali affordability, the concept that has been talked about in this particular article, when you'll go through it, it shows deep hidden deprivations. So in this manner, this particular article to be seen. The peripheral areas which we can go through while going through this particular article could be several committees that has been formed and that estimates poverty in the form of Tendulkar Committee, Rangarajan Committee. Afterwards, multidimensional poverty index can be seen. Thali index that has been prepared. This also can be seen and revised thoroughly. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. Moving on, the next important article that is there in the paper and that needs our attention talks about India needs more focus to reach SDG 3, a crucial goal. Now, this particular article is relevant from our syllabus point of view, and that majorly talks about GS paper 1 society, GS paper 2 governance, health policy, and the schemes associated with it that we have launched. This is even relevant for GS paper 3 economy, because a good human resource would contribute way much more to the economy, and how the role of artificial intelligence and science and tech, machine learning could be incorporated to fulfill SDG goal 3. Now, for prelims perspective, we need to know about SDG, MMR, maternal mortality rate data with regard to India's and performance of several states and the divide that we are seeing. IMR, infant mortality rate from surveys such as National Family Health Survey. Afterwards, a Lancet Digital Health Commission, the report that has been talked about in this particular article, can be read and revised, and in particular with regard to observation of India's population. This can even be interlinked with GS paper 2 polity as well, wherein Article 21, which talks about good health. So this also holds quite important relevance. This will even fall under GS paper 2 DPSP, which Article 47, that talks about state's responsibility to provide good health to its citizens. So the peripheral schemes associated with it, India's national health policy, Ayushman Bharat schemes, several flagship schemes of state government as well, they all can be read and revised while going through this particular article. Now, the next article that catches our attention in today's paper that talks about is holistic approach. Now, this is relevant with regard to pollution. In North India, as September, end of September and beginning of October clocks in, stubble burning, pollution issues, and the news related to it rises drastically. So this particular article talks about that only. This majorly says to reduce stubble burning and pollution, we need to have a holistic approach with regard to it. When we map this particular article in our GS syllabus, will fall under GS paper 3 under the theme environment, wherein air pollution, agriculture, environment nexus has been talked about. GS paper 2 as well, governance, wherein year after year, initiatives after initiatives, data after data, not much concrete step has been taken in this regard to tame down the rising pollution that we are seeing. So what is the role of CAQM? Cooperative federalism, how, when done in the right spirit, can actually bring some sort of reforms, and issue related to it could be solved. Afterwards, from prelims perspective, the areas that we have to know and read and revise is Environment Protection Act of 1986, National Clean Air Program, CAQM structure and power, that is Commission of for air quality management, and also with regard to Delhi, what sort of steps that are being taken when pollution rises, PM 2.5, PM 10, how they are hazardous. From May's perspective, the same angle can be seen through the lens of judiciary versus executive, farmers' livelihood, pollution control, carrot versus stick policy, and whatever steps that has been taken in this particular regard, how impactful they have been. What could be the way forward to address this issue? In this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. Now, the next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention majorly talks about why did India condemn Doha strike? This is relevant because we are seeing a shift in West Asia policy shift through this particular step of India, wherein Israel is not being condemned for the Gaza issue that they are doing, but at the same time, when it comes to Doha, India condemned it. So this particular article is relevant with regard to GS paper 2, international relations, wherein India's West Asia policy and its drift that is being seen through this particular article can be analyzed. Then balancing Israel versus West Asian Arabic world, that can also be quoted and analyzed. This is even relevant with regard to GS paper 2, UN Charter principles as well. From prelims perspective, we need to know about UN Charter, what is sovereignty right, territorial integrity, SCO declarations, India's voting records so far with regard to West Asia issues at UNGA, what is GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Arab legal basics. With regard to May's perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of Qatar is different. Why so? Primary reasons could be our energy reliance on them, in particular with regard to gas import that we are doing with them. And at the same time, there is diaspora connect as well. So balancing contradiction between Israel and Gulf ties is that India are trying to do. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. And the last important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention talks about US in particular ends waiver for Chabahar port. So this is relevant with regard to India's economic policy with West Asia. So relevant for GS paper 2, wherein international relations, India, Iran, and US sanctions that has been always talked about can be read and revised. Afterwards, this is relevant for strategic autonomy that India has always played when it comes to international relations part. For GS paper 3 as well, economy and infrastructure theme, wherein trade routes, major connectivity projects which India is undertaking, this can be read and revised. From the perspective of GS paper 1, geography as well, wherein strategic location of Chabahar port, this gives an access to Afghanistan and Central Asia as well, is very much relevant. From prelims perspective, we need to know the location with regard to Chabahar port versus Gwadar port, the important connectivity project that has been taken in the form of INSTC, that is International North-South Corridor. This could be understood. With regard to May's perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of US domestic politics that often affects India's interest in the regional plans. How the strategic autonomy in this particular manner could be maintained by India. Then there is a push towards balancing with regard to Iran, because we are dependent on them with regard to our energy security point of view as well, and also the regional connectivity Iran offers to us in the form of Afghanistan and other Central Asian countries as well. This is all from my end for today's Hindu newspaper. Read thoroughly, try interlinking all the topics with regard to mains, brainstorm a lot, join the dots. That is all from my end.